Revolutionary greetings, comrades. It's Red Sunday today, the 30th of January 2021. In our Red Sunday, we are looking into what we call party principles. As we build the Zimbabwe Communist Party, it is important that we understand the party principles. Were to reproduce the article written by one of the great African theoretician, revolutionary theoretician, Comrade Amicar Cabral. This is contained in our educational material part 2. The other Red Sunday, we dealt with an article that was in the Zimbabwe Communist Party Educational Material Part 1. Today, we thought it's important that we visit this article. It is not only found in the Zimbabwe Communist Educational Material, but we're to reproduce it to assist our comrades as we build the party. We're in this formative stages of the party. So a lot of work is needed in understanding how to organize a political party. I hope also that this will other political formations, progressive political formations for that matter. There are many comrades across the continent that are establishing a leftist political formation or movements. This indeed might benefit them. So it's important that as the young revolutionaries, we read Amicar Cabral, his works, if we are to understand the revolutionary theory as we seek to lead in the socialist revolution in Zimbabwe. So today we are taking from, the notes are from Amicar Cabral, apply party principles in practice. So you can Google the notes if you have no access to the Zimbabwe Communist Party Educational Material Part 2. So you can Google the notes which says apply party principles in practice. Amicar Cabral was born in 1924 in the Portuguese colony of Guinea-Bissau, of parents from the nearby Cape Verde Islands. He went to Portugal, where he studied as an agronomist. In 1956, he formed the PAIG, with PAIG, translated African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde. That was in 1956. In that same year, he assisted Agostinho Neto of Angola in the formation of the Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola plan. In 1963, under the leadership of Cabral, and the armed struggle began. Unfortunately, he was assassinated in the neighboring Guinea Conakry in January 1973. Independence was declared later in September 1974. I am Ngabuto Nicholas Mapena. I'm the General Secretary of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. Please like the video, subscribe, write your comments. We want to understand the challenges that you are facing in the building of the party, or if you belong to a progressive organization, what are the challenges that you are facing in the building of the party or that progressive organization that you belong to, be it a trade union, be it a residents association, be it a rural-based organization. What are the challenges that you face, so that through this channel we can assist each other in building progressive formations. Comrade Amicar Cabral writes and says, in the current phase of our struggle, and in order to strengthen our organization in the face of the great responsibility it has, it is not enough to put into operation all the leadership bodies of the party. It is not enough to do good political work and to operate effectively and victorious on the military level. In order that the party should be constantly better and rise to the level of its responsibilities, it is essential to apply at all echelons of our life and our struggle the principles of organization and the work which the party adopted as basic norms of its actions. He was writing this at a time when the party that he led was involved in the armed struggle. Of course, the Zimbabwe Communist Party is not involved in the armed struggle, but there are other comrades across the continent or across the globe, progressive comrades that are involved in the armed struggle. A case in point is the criticism and self-criticism to solve internal questions and contradictions, the principles of collective leadership of party life, the principle of democratic centralism and revolutionary democracy in the decisions to be taken at all levels and in the practice of party watchwords. Some of the issues that are raised here, also Lenin dealt in detail in what is to be done. For instance, there's self-criticism. He spent time dealing with this question. There are comrades that do not want to accept self-criticism. As a party, we must, as the Zimbabwe Communist Party, accept criticism. And the criticism that is always leveled at us, which we accept, is that we are more on social media. Some even called us a party of press statements. It's a criticism that we accept because if you are known as part of press statements, not accompanied by practical work on the ground, it means we have no party. So criticism, constructive criticism for that matter, must help us to build the organization. We should not feel insulted or feel undermined, but we must take that in our strides as a constructive criticism that seeks to help us to build the true vanguard of the working class and the peasants. Let's check point one, which is rising. It says, develop the spirit of criticism between militants and responsible workers. Give everyone at every level the opportunity to criticize, to give his opinions about the work and the behavior or the action of others. Accept criticism wherever it comes from as a contribution to improving the work of the party, as a demonstration of active interest in the internal life of the organization. There are some leaders who will not accept criticism. And essentially, these leaders are created by what we used to refer to as the kitchen cabinet. That a leader should not be criticized. And as the general secretary of the party, it would be dangerous not to accept criticism. And it would be dangerous that those that I work with closely in the leadership will find everything wrong when the general secretary of the party is criticized, when the central committee of the party is criticized. We must accept criticism if we are to grow and build a strong party. Always remember that criticism is not to speak ill nor engage in intricacies. Criticism is and should be the act of expression and open, candid opinion in front of those concerned on the basis of facts and in the spirit of fairness to assess the thought and action of others with the aim of improving that thought and action. Criticism is to be constructive, to show proof of sincere interest in the work of others for the improvement of that work. So when you criticize as a member of the party or a non-member of the party, for that matter, you should ensure that you always provide constructive criticism. Of course, there are those that will not provide constructive criticism, but theirs, it is destructive. It is part of destroying the organization. When people then insult, when people become too personal, that is not criticism. But criticism must be constructive with the aim of building an organization. As I've said, that there are many formations out there. It might not be the Zimbabwe Communist Party only, but a number of political formations out there that might find it difficult to accept criticism. For instance, other parties feel insulted when the question of holding a congress is raised. When members of a party ask genuinely, or not even members of the party, because we operate in a society, ask genuinely to say, when is the party or movement going to have a congress and have elected leadership? In the case of Zimbabwe, we have now developed a defensive mechanism of always saying those that are calling for Congress are sponsored by ZANU-PF or by the enemy, which might not be true. So it is important when such matters are raised to explain clearly on why the organization is not ready to hold a Congress. Not simple label those that are calling for a Congress as agents of the enemy. Combat severely the evil tongue, the obsession with intrigues, the so and the so says, which is in bracket, unfair and unfounded criticism. To assess the thought and the action of a comrade is not necessary to speak ill of it. To speak highly, to praise, to encourage, to stimulate, this is also criticism. While we must always be watchful against conceit and personal pride, we must not stint praise to someone who deserves it. Let me repeat this one. While we must always be watchful against conceit and personal pride, we must not stint praise to someone who deserves it. Praise with the cheerfulness, with frankness in front of others. All those thought and action properly serve the progress of the party. But what we must avoid, which we will deal with as we continue, while it's important to take pride in the work that we do, but we should not reach a stage where the Zimbabwe Communist Party will not exist if Ngqabutho Mabhena is not General Secretary. We should not reach that stage, because once you reach a stage where the party is defined around Ngqabutho Mabhena because it's the General Secretary, that becomes something else. It should not reach that point, because a party is an institution. It cannot be a personal property. Derive a lesson, okay? We must likewise apply fair criticism, denounce frankly, seizure, condemn, and demand the condemnation of all those who practice acts against the progress and interests of the party. Fight face-to-face errors and the faults. Help others to improve their work. It is also important that as the leadership in the party, we must appreciate the work, the contribution that the comrades are making in the organization or in the movement or in the party, so that the comrades continue doing good work for the organization. Derive a lesson from every mistake we make or which others make, in order to avoid making new mistakes, so that we do not fall into the follies into which others have already fallen. Criticizing a comrade does not mean putting oneself against the comrades, making a sacrifice in which the comrade is the victim. It is to show him that we are all interested in his work, that we are all one and the same boat, that his errors harm us all, and that we are watchful as friends and comrades to help him overcome his weaknesses and contribute increasingly in order that the party should increasingly better. So when we criticize, when we point out certain issues within a comrade, we should not do so with the mind of destroying the comrade, but we should do so in building the comrade. And it is important in choosing the platform where we make such criticism so that the comrade does not feel undermined, the comrade does not feel attacked. Any person or comrade that feels undermined or attacked would certainly defend themselves. And when a person begins to defend themselves, it does not help. Develop the principle of criticism at all party meetings, in all committees, and within the armed forces, in the guerrillas force or in the army, after every operation against the enemy. We must assess the results of the action and the behavior of every combatant. Derive all the lessons from the action in order to make new and better actions in education, in production, in commercial activity, in care, in all branches of our life and struggle. We must be capable of criticizing and accepting criticism. One thing that I learned from the deputy president, now they call Triple Singh, he has been the deputy president of the MDC, Professor Washman Ngube. One thing that he taught me, he has been my mentor over the years. I always say he's a Marxist, though of course the party, that movement that he belongs to is a discussion for another day. We would go to a rally, spend the whole day in rallies in communities. After every rally, we will gather in the office, do what was called postmortem. We will criticize ourselves, and criticize ourselves in terms of the message that was delivered. We will line up speakers that will speak in a rally. After the rally, we'll come back to the office, we'll sit down and say, but Chief, you were supposed to mention this in the rally, not? Comrades, you were leading the song in a rally, it was a discord. The manner in which we're doing sloganeering, it was not correct. And we're doing so not to destroy comrades, because that is what is called self-criticism. So that when you then go to a rally tomorrow, you know that you have been given a script to speak to. Because before the rally, we would sit and say, we are going to this community. What are the challenges faced by that community? What are the issues that the community will want the movement, the leadership of the movement to raise? So when we then go deliver the message, we come back and we criticize each other and say, but you did not stick to the script that we agreed. The manner in which you were singing was problematic, because we could not, all of us, get into the music tune. So this is constructive criticism, which helps comrades, so that when you go to another rally, at least you have learned from your mistakes and you seek to improve. But criticism, which is proof of the willingness of others to help us, of our willingness to help others, must be complemented by self-criticism, so that the organization grows. Develop in all the militants, responsible workers, and combatants the spirit of self-criticism, the ability of each person to make a specific analysis of his own work, to distinguish in it what is bad, to acknowledge his own errors, and to discover the causes and the effects of these errors. To make self-criticism is not merely to say, yes, I recognize my fault, my error and ask forgiveness, while remaining ready to commit new faults, new errors. It is not pretending to be repentant of the evil one has done, while remaining convinced deep down that it is the other who do not understand. Still, less is making self-criticism to make ceremony as to go on later with a clear conscience and carry out committing errors. An organization must not continue committing the errors that it has been corrected. A leader must not continue committing errors. Yes, we commit errors. Those errors are pointed out, but it should not be the norm that every day a leader or the party commits these errors. To criticize oneself is not to pay a responsible or indulgence, not to offer penance. Self-criticism is an art of frankness, courage, comradeship, and awareness of our responsibility, a proof of our will to accomplish properly, a demonstration of our determination to improve constantly, to make a better contribution to the progress of the party. We must have what we call honest criticism. This is meant to build the party. Let's look into point number 2. Apply progressively at all levels of the party leadership. Apply progressive at all levels of the party leadership, the principle of collective leadership. This is an area which is problematic in most of us as leaders. Do everything possible in order that the leading bodies of the party may operate genuinely, not on the basis of 1, 2, or 3 persons, but of all their members, men and women. As leadership, we must create a conducive environment in the party for everyone to operate to the best of their ability. Linked to criticism, a leader should not feel undermined when these issues are pointed out, because at times we create conditions where comrades are fearful to operate, and the organization is then seen as being led by individuals. We accept the criticism. Comrades always say, of course, they are not members of the party, they are observing from outside. They will say the Zimbabwe Communist Party is made up of 3 comrades. Comrade Ian Pitos, our national commissar, and Comrade Bongani Mkwananzi. And collective leadership means leadership. Collective leadership means leadership and the order or command made by a group of persons and not by one person alone or some persons in the group to lead collectively. So it's important that decisions that are taken by the organization as a whole. The biggest mistake when it comes to collective leadership, in some of us, we always, when we even address, we normally do not use the collective. A leader would say, I did this, that does not demonstrate the level of collectiveness. So a decision must be taken as a collective, even if I have a view. What I present in the Central Committee is my view. It becomes a collective leadership once the Central Committee has discussed and adopted. So if I have a view, I do not run and announce that view and pretend that it is the position of the party. I canvass my view within the party. Idea that I think will help the party to grow. So I canvass my view within the party. The comrades debate. If then they accept my view, they then it becomes the party position. Last one, of course, says practice not is the second to the last. Practice revolutionary democracy in all aspects of party life. This is key. It says every responsible worker must bravely assume his responsibility. All of us, as members of the party, we must practice a revolutionary democracy. So the last one, because I know comrades have challenges with the data, which the last one, which we always refer to is democratic centralism. We've defined this in other videos, so it's not necessary to repeat here. But it is important because the Zimbabwe Communist Party and the Communist Party, for that matter, is guided what is called democratic centralism. We've defined democratic centralism in other videos. Otherwise, comrades, this is our Red Sunday applying party principles in building the Zimbabwe Communist Party and in building other political parties, because we know comrades belong to progressive organization. This will help us. Otherwise, comrades, please write your comments, subscribe, and circulate. Goodbye.